about that in the churches, but today, if we have time, we'll try to cover 7 points about God and our physical intimacy in marriage. We'll talk about, can we talk about this subject in the church? We'll discuss that. Number 2, the beauty of the sexual union between a husband and wife according to the Bible. Number 3, God's plan for marital sexuality. Number 4, the sexual differences between men and women. This is a big topic, but we'll try to compress it. And number 5, God's purpose, not plan, purpose, of giving us marital sexual feelings towards the opposite sex. Number 6, some sexual problems in men and women. And number 7, if we still have time, what can I do to handle the intimacy during the fasting period? Can we talk about this topic in the church? What do you think? Raise your hand, yes or no, and tell me why. I know we're all tired when I finish and go home, but let's make it interactive. Yes. Why? It is a message from God. Right. To learn through the church. Thank you. Anybody has a different opinion? Want to add anything? Okay. One of the priests in California told me that 95% of the marital fights or conflicts are emanating from some bedroom problems. Of course, he said that after hundreds and thousands of cases of confession. Bishop Moses, he's the bishop of youth in Egypt, he said, if the Christian family is the holy temple of the church, the marriage bed is the holy of holies. Of course, that might be a different message than what we hear from the secular world, but this is the Christian view. Is Christianity a sex-negative religion? Our brothers in the Muslim religion, they attack Christianity all the time. They say that Christianity is a sex-negative religion. What do you think? No? Oh, they claim that we talk about purity, virginity, celibacy, nuns, monks, keep yourself pure for marriage. So they collect that together and they say Christianity versus Islam is a sex-negative religion. Don't. Is that true? You can say it is not, and period. You have to continue the sentence. It is not because
in Christianity, I believe sex is not supposed to be based on lust. It's based on love.
Thank you. Can you hear in the back? Okay, because in Christianity, sex is not based on lust, it is based on love. That's beautiful, but let us see the biblical references that support that Christianity is a sex-positive religion. Number 1, if you read Proverbs 5, the chapter has 2 contradictory messages. One is about the perils of sex outside of the marriage. The Bible says, the lips of an immoral woman drip honey, and her mouth is smoother than oil. But in the end she is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. Her feet go down to death, her steps lay hold of hell. The immoral woman can be anybody that's not your wife, or anybody that's a picture or a video somewhere to take you away from your marriage. Of course, at that time there was no technology and videography, but the immoral woman is a symbol of anybody except your wife. In the same chapter, Proverbs 5, the Bible encourages the physical union between a husband and wife, the same chapter. Look at the language. This is a language from the Bible, and it is not symbolic. Why? The context The context is a physical union. One is for fun, the other one under the marital umbrella of sexuality. Drink water from your own cistern. Cistern is an equivalent to a well. And running water from your own well. Let them be only your own and not for strangers with you. Nowadays, there is a movement about polyamorous family. I don't know if you hear about that or you read about that. Polyamorous, many, amor, love, family, like what we had seen on the TV, the big love, 10 men and 15 women together in a communal living. They call that a family. The Bible is warning me. My wife and the husband are exclusive relationship. Let your fountain be blessed, your fountain be blessed, and rejoice with the wife of your youth. As a loving deer and a graceful doe, let her breasts satisfy you at all time. This is from the Bible. And always be enraptured with her love. Enraptured, intoxicated with her love. For why should you, my son, be enraptured by an immoral woman and be embraced in the arms of a seductress? This is the one that we spoke about before. Saint Clement of Alexandria, he said, how can we be ashamed of talking about organs God was not ashamed of creating? Sometimes in our culture, we give it nicknames because we are so uncomfortable about the whole subject and the names of the organs. St. Paul said, these organs has greater honor, and in the Old Testament, live joyfully with the wife whom you love. Talk about number 2, the beauty of the sexual union between a husband and wife according to the Bible. The first commandment is be fruitful and multiply. Of course, the Bible is not going to explain how to be fruitful, but we understand the commandments. Our great patriarch Isaac, these are the great patriarch, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Abuna mentioned their names all the time at the altar. What did he do with his wife? Isaac was showing endearment to Rebekah, his wife. You can use your imagination to know what endearment is. Somebody was looking at them, Abimelech, and he saw Isaac doing that. Isaac is one of the greatest names in the Bible, a patriarch, and we ask his intercession. In the Old Testament, a newly married man should take 1 year vacation from his military duties. The military duties at that time was a holy duty. And he takes 1 year vacation to do what? What do you think the rest of the verse is saying? To play video games? No, I don't think so. To stay with his mom? What do you say? Maybe? You want to do that, but the Bible didn't say that. Okay, look at the beauty of the language. Why? To bring happiness to his wife. Very beautiful, poetic language. Whatever makes her happy. You're laughing, eh? You don't believe it. I know. Yeah, maybe you that's correct. Yeah, that you're correct. Not necessarily the first 2 years. You know, one wife told me in counseling, she had been married for 35 years. So she said the first 25 years she was miserable, and after that she got used to it. The period of adjustment differs, of course, between the couples, and it is understandable why. And the better Christians are, the shorter is the period. So we can say the first 2 years. For some people it is even longer than that. 1 Corinthians 7, St. Paul said, the wife does not have authority over her own body, but the husband does. If St. Paul stopped at that level, this is unfair. But he continues, and likewise, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but the wife does, as if the Christian healthy marriage is an exchange of bodies. I give my body willingly and lovingly to my wife, and she does the same thing. Of course, in the process, when you give, you also receive. In the Song of Solomon, the one who waters also gets watered. Do not deprive one another except. The following verse, if God gives me time on earth, I think I can write a book about it. Do not deprive one another except. St. Paul gave us 4 conditions. Anybody remembers anything? We heard this verse many times before. When I say to my wife, to my spouse, to my husband, no intimacy. What are the 4 conditions according to the Bible? Beautiful. According to psychology, perfect. Number 1, with consent, meaning by mutual agreement. I can't go to my wife, I tell her, I am a popular servant in the church. Abuna, because of his humility, invites me here. So because I am preparing topics about the Bible, so the next 10 years, I want to dedicate my life to studying the Bible. That's not mutual agreement. That's on my side. That's selfish. Although it looks very spiritual. Number 2 condition, for a time. It is time limited. Number 3, that you may give yourself to fasting and prayer. It has a purpose. It is not a punishment from one person to the other. That destroys the marriage. And the number 4, and come together again to eventually go back to intimacy. Why St. Paul is giving these 4 specific instructions? He continues, so that Satan does not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. I had seen many cases. One person thinks, I am so spiritual, I don't need sexuality anymore, leaving the other one to suffer. The devil can enter the family from that door. So it is by mutual agreement, it is time limited, it has a purpose, and also eventually you go and meet again. God's plan for marital sexuality. What do you think the purpose of God to give us some sexual feelings? God could have created us asexual, meaning non-sexual. He could have done that, but he chose not to. Maybe Abuna, next time you can ask the ladies in the fellowship hall to make the breakfast/lunch lighter. Yeah, because the food was so delicious and so much, you get heavy and then you can't think clearly. Yes, tell me, what do you think God's plan for marital sexuality? You married, right? You're telling me? A form of love expression. Excellent. Yes. Anybody else? Huh? To have kids, yeah, of course. Be fruitful, and how you're going to multiply, unless you have another method I don't know about, you can tell me. That's how you multiply, that's correct. What else? Union, in what level? Physical, spiritual, psychological? All of the above, excellent. Let's see what we have here. The first commandment in the Bible, we said it, be fruitful and multiply. Why did St. Paul say, marriage is honorable among all and the bed is undefiled? Why did he mention that? He was not married himself. He was responding to a heresy at that time that the only way you can go to heaven is via celibacy. This is a heresy the church did not support. Some people have this gift, this calling. The majority of us, we are going to heaven via marriage and establishing a Christian family. So St. Paul is saying marriage is honorable, opposite to what the people are saying, and the bed is undefiled. Where in the Bible we find the phrase, a flesh of my flesh and a bone of my bones? It is in two places, but when you connect them, you will start to understand God's plan for sexuality. Yes. Yeah, Adam said when he saw Eve, this is a flesh of my flesh, a bone of my bones. Excellent, thank you. You study a lot. Where else that was mentioned? St. Paul said about us, related to Christ, we are a bone of his bones and the flesh of his flesh. As if the Bible is telling me the relationship between the church and the Christ is analogous to the relationship between the husband and wife. The relationship between church and the Christ has nothing physical. There is no physical intimacy in it. But what is the point of the analogy? If you don't interact with me, I'm gonna beg Abuna next time, no fellowship food. You just finish the liturgy and you stay here hungry and you listen. Okay, because the relationship between church and the Christ is analogous to the husband and wife relationship because it is a competition in sacrifice. Christ shed his blood for us, and as Abuna said this morning, we live our life serving him. This is why the ultimate human sacrifice for Christ is martyrdom, if we are called to do that. Why? It is a mutually giving relationship. That is the same in the marriage, as we said. Everybody offers himself to the other willingly and lovingly. If that is your concept of marriage, you are going to have very little conflicts in this area. The sexual differences between men and women in this area. Now we have how much time left, Yabuna? 10, 15 minutes? How much time you want to give me? Because if you say take your time, you have to go to work tomorrow. And that, that's, you might regret that. Tell me about the sexual differences from what, not about you yourself, what you hear and the conflict of people and the dramas on the TV and so on. What are the differences between men and women in this area? Do you think God created us copies of each other? Of course not. Yes. One lady told me, I think God made a very big favor to us, because if he had created the women, copies of men, can you imagine how boring life would be? I told her, I understand. This is why in his wisdom, he created us different, intentionally different. So when you have a conflict or a fight with your wife/husband that he is different, you are different, you are fulfilling God's plan. Our issue is how to resolve and work around the differences. So in the sexual area, tell me what is the differences between men and women. By the way, with me, you can talk about anything in this area as long as you are using appropriate language. That's okay. This is why the church opened her bosom to talk about this, because we are we're getting toxic marriages all the time from the secular society. That affects, unfortunately, some families. Men and women are copies of each other. No, they are not. Okay. Comma? Because? Okay. Okay. I want to learn English from you. I want to learn. Exactly. Beautiful. How long you been married? Long time. Okay. Okay, let's see what we have. The man is stimulated by vision and touch. And by vision, this is why, unfortunately, in the Coptic churches in general, we do have a problem with pornography. I was called 6 months ago to one of the churches to talk about this topic by itself. It is a huge topic. One of the preachers in the Protestant church, he said pornography is the atomic bomb against the Christian family. So men are stimulated by vision and touch, while women are stimulated by hearing. They are hungry to hear good complimentary words, encouraging words, your beauty, your hair, your dress, your cooking. I like that about you, the way you handle the children, and so on. For men, he said that, it is almost a mechanical process. This is why you can find a man who goes to Las Vegas and he hires an immoral woman and pays her some money, and he finishes the sexual act with her and he leaves, and you tell him, come here. Do you know what's her name? No. You know anything about her? No, and I don't want and I don't care. Because it is almost a physical act, a mechanical act. Of course, with the wife, it is under the umbrella of marriage. It has a bigger and wider dimension. The topic is for adults only, unfortunately. The differences between the clay oven and microwave, we'll step that. The types of love the woman needs. I think if you're a married husband, I would love if you leave today with anything to pick up these 4 kinds of love. None of them is sex. Believe it or not. I know. Some husbands are shocked. Okay, number 1, what does the wife need? Number 1, companionship. She feels she has a man she can depend on. He responds to her needs. He is in touch with her feelings. Number 2, affection. That's from St. Paul. He said, husbands, give your wife the affection due her. Affection. Touches. Maybe somebody can tell me what affection is. You know, English is not my native language, so you can explain for me what affection is. Remember the little things that she likes. That's what you mean, right? That she likes. Okay, Correct, yes. Other forms of affection, non-sexual. To feel treasured, important, complimented, praised, right? That's what you're saying. Correct, yes. What else? Respect, excellent. That's right. Non-sexual touches and kisses on the cheeks, playing in her hair if she has any. Okay? In a non-sexual way. That's what affection is. Number 3, romance. Romance? What is that? Huh? Remembering her birthday, your first date, your engagement, your wedding date, her mother's birthday. No. That's not it. Okay. And communication. One lady, now we have what? 10 more minutes, is okay? One lady told me, I believe in that, I think after seeing few thousand cases in marital conflicts and going to the Majlis al-Ikleriki with the fathers and his Grace Metropolitan Serapion to decide about cases. I go as a therapist to the husband or the wife or both. I think the 10 areas of marital conflicts are very well known. 90% of them are the area of intimacy or the area of communication. There are other areas like finances or my family versus your family or parenting or hobbies or in some families addiction or in some families even service can be a problem or a conflict in marriage if I am dedicating too much time away from my spouse and so on. But 90% are in the first two. So communication is a wife's genuine need to talk and to be listened to. She needs affection before and after the intimacy. Husbands don't understand that. They're programmed differently. God created them different. For her, the love-making process is a reflection of the relationship during the whole day. How attentive and available and communicative he was. If you want to leave, please leave with that for the men. Please remember that for women. The intimacy process does not start in the bedroom. I was talking to a Saidi husband. You know what a Saidi is? Saidi husband, we say that in our culture, from Upper Egypt, not very flexible, not highly educated. My dad was Saidi, so I can comfortably talk about that. No insult to anybody. So I was telling him in Arabic, the romance, the sexuality does not start in the bedroom. He said, oh my goodness, you wanted me to do anything in the kitchen? That's not what I meant. And does not start at 10 p.m. But husbands have very difficult time absorbing that for some reason. It took me the first 45 years of my marriage to know that. I've been married 35 years only. The best way is to make your grass greener is to take care of your own. And this is the reason I'm talking about that today. Instead of being attracted to something outside of my marriage, and the attraction are everywhere, and we had seen cases of extramarital affairs, addiction to pornography, other stuff. What I'm talking about is what can you do with what you have? If you improve, enhance what you have, the devil will not come to your family via sexual attractiveness outside of your marriage. God's purpose of giving us marital sexual feelings toward the opposite sex are the following. Number one, who said that? Procreation, of course. In some cases that doesn't happen, that does not cancel the marriage. Number two, unity. Number three, I'm going to say it, I can be ejected from the Coptic Church, be excommunicated, but that's okay. I have no cloak to lose. So that's okay, I'm a lay person. But I had seen horrible stories in counseling coming from our ignorance in this area, and nobody talks about it. We suffer in silence till the case deteriorates and goes to divorce. Number three, God's plan and purpose of marital sexual feeling is mutual pleasure. That's God's plan. How do we know that? Because when you study the female anatomy, you find parts that are there only for pleasure, has nothing to do with the procreation process. That we, in stupidity, we cut it off in some countries and we call it female genital mutilation or female circumcision, which is illegal in the United States at least, and in other Middle Eastern countries, although unfortunately it's still practiced in rural areas. They think if you do that, the young woman, she is calm sexually, and that's stupid, because sexuality is not in the genital area. Sexuality is here, here, and here. The genital area is my expression of my sexuality. God gives us richly all things to enjoy. So God wants me to enjoy marital sexuality according to His plan under the umbrella of marriage. Okay. Some sexual problems, and we'll stop at that for the lack of time. When we have problems, we classify the problems in this area either problems with desire, very high or very low, men or women. Or the second classification is problems with performance, meaning the desire is there, but he or she cannot perform. We'll divide the problems into groups: sexual problems in men. Anybody can tell me, what do you hear outside? Sexual problems in men. These are all treatable, by the way. Erectile dysfunction, it is good to speak to doctors. ED, erectile dysfunction, the man cannot initiate or sustain an erection enough to finish the sexual act with the wife. And all these are treatable. What else in men? We'll come to women in a few minutes. What do you hear outside? Decreased, I don't know what libido is. Desire. Yes, decreased desire. Okay, let's see what we have. Number one is the ignorance of the wife's needs. Although we live in a sex-obsessed society, everybody is talking about sex, modeling, young actors, beauty, physical beauty. But unfortunately, men are not aware of the wife's needs that we explain, the four needs. Their fear of performance failure, performance anxiety. The concern about the size of the male organ, we hear many comments and discussions and jokes about that. Medically speaking, the size has no effect on the woman's enjoyment. What affects her enjoyment are the four needs we spoke about. If you give her these four needs, you will have a satisfying sexual relationship. Premature ejaculation, that's also a concern for some men, and it can be treated. And the frequency, what is the normal? We don't know. Okay, so we leave that to the couples to talk and negotiate by mutual agreement. in love and sacrificial love. In some cases, I give exercises to some couples who are busy professionals. There is no time, and you're waiting for the romantic moment. It doesn't come. It's not going to happen. So we give them exercise to schedule it. The abnormal use of women, that can be a reason for divorce. The church looks very bad on rectal intercourse. And if proven, the woman can have a divorce decree from the Coptic Church. The use or the addiction of pornography, that's a big topic, as we said. It is damaging, although everybody says it is benign entertainment. They call it victimless crime. The street name is smut, and the youth call it eye candy. The only one who is going to go away from his own salvation or her salvation is the person addicted to it. So is it a victimless crime? No, it's not a victimless crime. There is a new sexual disorder called PIED, unfortunately. Anybody heard about it? Pornography induced erectile dysfunction, meaning the person whose brain became attached to the light of the computer or the phone or the iPad cannot get aroused except with images on the computer. So the wife is here, but he has no desire to her. Very sad. So we think, it is going to enhance my relationship. Some people say that. Actually, the opposite happens, because the wife cannot be in comparison or in competition with models who are doing that, acting for money. When you go home, I'd like you to go to YouTube and type dead porn stars. There is nothing bad about the 25 minutes, but you will see that the lifespan of an American person in general is 77 years. The average span of a porn star, the average, is 36.5. Some of them died at the age of 21. This is why one of the saints said, sin is a false promise of happiness. Some sexual problems in women, and we'll finish by that. Before marriage, they might have negative perception of sex from a family upbringing, from the culture, from religion, and we saw from the Bible how Christianity is a sex-positive religion, all because of earlier sexual abuse, and all that can be corrected in counseling. Physical pain during intimacy, that also can be treated. The normal physical union between a husband and a wife should be enjoyable. If there is some pain on either side, this is a medical issue that can be taken care of. Lack of orgasm, and some women, they have that. This is why Pfizer, who manufactured the blue pill for men, they tried very hard, billions of dollars were invested in the pink pill, but it never came to the market. The reason being, the response of women in sexuality is not only physical like men. Depends on the emotions and the comfort level, the trust, the four needs that we talked about, and they were thinking they will make hefty profit from that, but it never arrived to the market. Vaginismus is a rare case in women where the woman, because of some specific history, vaginismus is contraction of the vagina during sexual intercourse to the point that completion of the act becomes very difficult. Can be treated also, but some women, or husbands and wives, they suffer in silence, and of course, the marriage cannot be maintained in a healthy way this way. When I ask you, one lady told me, if I dress up for my husband, he might think that I'm a cheap woman. Answer this question and we'll stop. Yes or no, this lady is right or she is wrong, and tell me why.
Sometimes it depends about the man mentality.
Yeah,
I believe some men think that way, but some men would never think that way. So it's not about the woman not to think about herself.
I see.
It's about her partner.
I see.
Yeah.
I see your point. She's saying it depends on the man. Some men think like this woman is saying, and so the issue is with the man. That's what he's saying. Okay. Yes.
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Could you please repeat it?
Oh, I guess what I meant, maybe I wasn't clear, inside, enclosure of your home, at your bedroom. I'm not talking about dressing up, seductively in public. No, that's not what I meant. No. Yeah. To come back to your point, this was a request from the husband, not after.
I mean, after she made that request, he still think that way about her?
No, the husband wants her to dress up for him. And her response is that this husband, I remember him, Abuna, I will finish this. He told me a very nice statement. He said, the smell of garlic and onion doesn't turn me on. After cooking from the kitchen and not changing the clothes, not taking a shower, not preparing herself, it is not something very enjoyable to him. And if I do that, I am opening the door for the devil to come via other attraction. So it is my spiritual duty as a married man or woman, fulfill the needs of the other partners. Any questions? I went over time, I apologize. The subject is just so deep and many branches. You can ask me any question, not about you, but generally. Be specific to this area.
I guess it's both mentalities. That's the end of that. When if the women think that like she can be cheating in front of her husband, that's a mental issue for her, and vice versa.
Yes, now you see, if you take sexuality away from the Bible, you can say anything. Nowadays, male and female nowadays is not very sharp. Can be either or both, right? In the driver license, male or female, now we have a third category. Why? I took God's plan, male and female, he created them. That's what Genesis said. So if you want to take this away, you can create anything you want. And that is the beginning of the destruction of any civilization. In the world, civilizations disappeared because I played in the nuclear structure of the society, the family. Yeah. So if you take it away from the Bible, you can say anything. St. Paul said, the woman's body is not her own. And the husband's body is not his own. So if this woman, has a healthy understanding, yes, I will dress up if he wants me to please him in our bedroom. No, there is no sin in that. There is no verse that said, never ever, don't go to Victoria's Secret. That's a sinful place. We just make this up from the culture. But I'm enhancing what I have inside my marriage, according to God's plan. I'm doing a good work. Yes. Raise your voice, Ashan. Okay. Yes. 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 I see. No. He didn't mean that. Okay. In some families, we have a big problem, and as a husband and wife, we want to pray and fast for this big, humongous issue that we are facing we need the hands of the Lord to be with us. So we are going to refrain by mutual agreement, husband and wife, from sexual intimacy, so we can dedicate our time and prayer and fasting for this issue, and we are going to do that for XYZ of days. Am I clear? Right. So it has a purpose, it is time limited, it is by mutual agreement, and after the period is over, like the fasting, we come back to get united. Other questions? Thank you very much. Appreciate the invitation.
Thanks, Dr. Nabil, and I know it's a very touchy subject. You don't hear a lot about this, but unfortunately a lot of marriages suffer because these things are not talked about. So I encourage you to, encourage you, even if you have questions, take it to your father's confession, take it to a priest that you're comfortable with, but don't leave these things silent, okay? Let's pray together. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God, amen. Lord, hear us when we all pray together. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not in temptation, deliver us from evil. Christ is our Lord. Thine is the kingdom, power, glory forever. Now the love of God the Father, the grace of his only begotten Son, our Lord God and Savior Jesus Christ, communion and gift of the Holy Spirit be with you all, joy and peace.